The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast. We're talking PGA and Live Tour merging. That'll be fun. Major League Baseball news, including Jacob DeGrom, the thing we all saw coming, out for the year. NCAA conference realignment. Some NFL news as well. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up in me?
Welcome in to a new edition of the Sports Stove podcast, presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Go to righteousfelon.com. Use promo code BELLYUP. We'll get 15% off your purchase. You're going to love the taste and the texture of Righteous Felon Jerky. Make sure you check it out. Use that code BELLYUP so they know that we sent you. Welcome into the program on this Wednesday evening. Dad is joining me, Dale Stover. Dad, how you doing?
Doing good. Been a beautiful day today, and like I said, I got a visitor tonight. So we got your son, my grandson, one of them here, and looking forward to that. Do a little fishing the next couple of days, and going to be a good time. So.
Yeah, should be. Hopefully you enjoy it. I know you will. I know he'll enjoy it too. So that's a good time. Should have had him guest host, I guess, today, but nonetheless, plenty of sports things going on around the world. We're going to be joined in just a few moments by a guest to talk about the Live Tour and PGA merger and what we know about it so far and some things surrounding it. Because honestly, when I saw that news come up, I was a little surprised. So we'll talk about that in a bit. This week, there was a passing of a WWE Hall of Famer, the Iron Sheik. Passed away at 81. He was before my time and a little bit after your time, Dad. But what did a wrestler like Iron Sheik bring to the entertainment business?
Oh, he was quite the guy. He was one of the top, in his category as far as his company. Like I said, wrestling changed a lot over the years, but with the WWE, which was probably the WWF when he was in it, he was one of the dominant guys, and of course he was a great character there. They played a lot with him, with being from a different country, everything there. They would always play patriotic stuff and different things against him at times. But he was a huge guy, and like I said, he was a huge name in wrestling. And, as wrestling has changed and continued to grow, a lot of great characters there. And interesting to me, he was 81. So, he lived a long time. I remember one of the last times he was on wrestling was when they brought back a whole bunch of older wrestlers for a battle royal, and he was involved in that. Of course, the crowd, they brought him out one at a time to get into the ring, and the crowd really loved that. And yeah, like I said, wrestling, I've always enjoyed wrestling since I was a little kid. So I've seen a lot of professional wrestlers come and go. It's a little different now, a little too many trappings sometimes for me, but I do still follow it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he gets credited with helping Hulk Hogan launch Hulkamania, and of course they were big rivals there for a while. Sergeant Slaughter was involved in that too, with the American and the Iranian back and forths and things like that. So a lot of things there. And again, I didn't watch a whole lot of wrestling. So if I know who you are, that means that you were something. So yeah, the passing of the Iron Sheik. His real name, Hossein Khosrow Ali Vaziri there. So, but sad to hear, obviously, of the passing there as well. So an interesting entertainment business the wrestling world is, but can't say I follow it a whole lot these days. Let's talk a little bit about college, Dan. The conference realignment is something we're going to be talking about for years to come still. And the news came out this week that it looks like that Colorado and Arizona could be leaving the Pac-12 and heading to the Big 12. We talked about the Big 12 an episode or two ago. We were just talking about kind of the surprise of the fact that, my goodness, they went out and did their thing. They're growing. They're finding teams to come join them. And let's start with this. If Arizona and Colorado do leave and head to the Big 12, how big of a coup is that for the Big 12?
I think that's huge. Like I said, as they bring in more schools, they're smart about this because they're getting realigned. Like you said, it may go on for several years, but I think as soon as we get to the 12-team playoff, things are going to be pretty well set because they're going to have to make some decisions there. So I think bringing in more schools, the first ones they brought in were, I guess you could say, a little bit smaller schools. But I think if they get people from the Big 12 and both Arizona, why they have not been a football power lately, of course, Colorado, you don't have a bigger public relations thing than Coach Prime. So I think those are, I think bringing in schools from there, that's a big deal. And to get those two schools, and it'll help them in all their sports. Like I said, the Big 12 obviously has made a decision to not just sit back and wait and see, what happens or what their fate is. They've jumped in to be a major player here, and that's going to cripple the Pac-12 and like you said the other day, the ACC, depending on what happens here, the SEC moves a few more schools. They're going to be ACC schools, no doubt about that. So and the Big Ten was, as people keep moving, but they brought in big name people really with them, and I'm sure they're prepared to grow a little more too.
Well, everything is about money. We've talked about that a million times. Pac-12 is struggling to get a TV deal done right now. Of course, there's uncertainty about if teams are leaving, especially Colorado, who is a big ticket item right now when you talk about TV deals. Having Coach Prime, being able to put him on TV is kind of a big deal. So, Colorado's, I would be shocked if Colorado doesn't leave. But then Arizona, it looks like, would be not far behind. Again, Arizona has a solid basketball program, a below average football program right now, but we've seen the Big 12 start to target some of these basketball schools. Connecticut was a school that's been brought up for the Big 12 as well. Now they have football and whatnot, but they wouldn't be coming to bring football. They'd be coming to bring basketball to the conference. So the big money is in football. That's ultimately what it's going to lead to. But I've been really impressed with the Big 12 making this decision that they're going to go all in. And so far, they've successfully done so. Of course, the Colorado and Arizona thing is definitely not a done deal. But that's kind of where things seem to be going right now. And then, Dad, NIL stuff. I mean, we've talked about it a few times on the show, but it continues to impact the game or the college athletic scene. And, these TV deals and things like that kind of play into that too, because there's a chance for more money coming back to the students to some degree as well. And I could see the Big 12 wanting to push Colorado to come in and could probably offer some finances to help out with that kind of a thing as well. I was talking with a parent or an uncle, I guess, and his nephew was at Marshall playing basketball, ended up going to Mississippi State. And he said, there's car dealerships reaching out to him about what they could offer him to come to a smaller school. And but they could not match the money that Mississippi State was paying for the transfer. So that NIL money is playing a major role in the recruiting process, I guess, if you can use that word, right now still too. How much do you think the NIL money is going to impact colleges staying or leaving a conference?
Well, like I said, at some point, I think there's going to have to try to be some kind of regulation or control with NIL. But right now, that's obviously impacting things there. And I'm sure it impacts schools moving conferences because, again, that would impact that a little bit too. People paying NIL money, for athletes that are in a bigger conference. So, yeah, I no doubt the NIL money is definitely, like I said, at some point there's going to have to be some kind of control, it seems like, or it just, keeps going on and on, or there's going to be a violation that's just so egregious, something's going to have to be done. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it almost seems too late at this point. Yeah. You've kind of opened the floodgates. I'm not sure that you can change without causing major problems. But we are seeing it help, especially in basketball, where some guys are willing to return if they're probably outside the top 20 in the NBA draft. They're willing to come back and make $2 million in college versus going to the NBA. So it's helping keep some kids in school, at least in basketball. And I'm sure it's helping in some other things too. I want to remind people our program today is presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. If you want the purest jerky in the game, you got to go straight to the source. Righteous Felon has partnered with the best natural black Angus beef producers in the land to lock up supply and guarantee the best tasting, best textured, and freshest beef jerky on the market. Visit righteousfelon.com. Use promo code BELLYUP. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. All right, Dad, we're going to move on to a golf conversation. We don't talk a whole lot about golf on the air, being that your and I's golf game has not really improved in the recent years. But we're going to try to talk about it. And today we've got a guest on with us here as well today. And it's the one and only Lou Gamelin. He is from the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And great to have him with us today. Lou, how you doing, man? Oh, can you hear me, Lou? Uh-oh. No sound. Oh, there he is. Can you hear us, Lou?
I can. Yes,
okay.
Indeed.
Good. Welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Doing good. We don't have Detroit fans on very often. That's not what we brought you in to talk about. But it's rare that my dad being a Packers owner, that we have a Lions fan ever on the program. But hey, we didn't bring you on to talk about this. But what's your view of Hendon Hooker, man? We're Tennessee fans. So what's your view of Hendon Hooker and what he could bring down the road?
Well, I got to tell you, I loved the pick. I thought it was just at the right time. I think it was a great value pick. I think he's a good insurance policy to have. They'll probably give him a red shirt year this year unless something crazy happens. They've got Sudfeld to back up Goff right now. And, I think that he's a good backup for this year. But I love it because I think that prototype of quarterback is what we're going to see more and more of, I think, in the NFL in a few years. And so, I love the pick. I thought, like I said, it was a great spot for him for the Lions to get him. Yeah,
I liked it too. And Dad, we both liked that one. We didn't like the running back pick though, Jahmyr Gibbs early on. Were you happy? I didn't prepare you for this. I wasn't planning on talking about it. But that was an odd pick, wasn't it, for the Lions?
Well, the odd part about it was they said they had him high on their draft board, and I'm thinking to myself, why did they make the trade? Why didn't they just pick him at 6 or take Bijan Robinson, at 6 if they were going to go running back? But the early indications out of training camp is he's done well. I think he's going to be a playmaker. They want to kind of model him after Deebo Samuel. I know that's not a fair comparison right away, but things are it's unusual here in Detroit. We're not used to such Green Bay Packer type expectations of potentially winning a division. We haven't had this kind of hype since 1992 after the Lions went to the NFC Championship game with our only playoff win in my lifetime. So, and that's, my lifetime, 58 years. It's going to be fun. Can't wait to see what it brings.
Yeah. Dad, you want to make fun of the Lions before we talk about golf?
That's okay. There'll be plenty of time later in the year to do that. So.
Well, I'll tell you, my first recollection of a Lions-Packer game was 1970 when Greg Landry took the quarterback sneak against you guys and went 75 yards and got caught because he ran out of gas. So I know that was a long time ago, but
I was not around yet for that one. Well, we did bring Lou on to talk about the golf situation. And when the notification came across my phone and I saw that this merger was happening, I was absolutely shocked because, first of all, you hadn't heard anything about this. Yeah. Secondly, it seemed like the PGA and the guys from LIV hate each other. Yeah. So were you as surprised as I was on this?
It's funny is my wife and I had to run to Grand Rapids for a doctor's appointment for me for my foot. And we were on the way back and I got that alert just like you did on my phone. And I'm like, whoa, a merger. Nobody heard of it. And, apparently none of the players did either.
Right.
A lot of them were, they're at the Heritage Open or whatever up in Toronto, and they were getting the alerts on their phones and text messages and whatnot. And, they apparently started negotiating this in earnest a couple of months ago. And the way you hear Monahan talk, he met with the leaders of PIF, the investment fund, and he said he trusted them 10 minutes into it. And, lo and behold, they had lunch. They played golf together again. They met in England. And, yeah, it came together rather quickly. And, obviously has taken the golf world and the sports world by storm.
Yeah, it has. Are you surprised about how upset some of these PGA guys are? Rory McIlroy's had no problem speaking out, and I know we're going to get more of this. And I know that there's not been a lot said, but it doesn't sound like Tiger was too pleased by what's going on either. And I mean, you can't blame them for being mad, right? Because they were told, stick it out, be loyal, give up all that money, and they did.
It's such a bad look for the PGA right now. I mean, down the road, I think in the long run, let's face it, it's like every other sports entity, it's a business. And I think in the long run, I think it'll work out all right. These guys are going to make money. But yeah, I don't blame Rory for being upset. Like he said in his press conference, he was the sacrificial lamb. And I agree with him. He was the one carrying the sword. He still says he hates the LIV Tour, but he understands why they did it. And it's crazy. I watched some of these national pundits, for example, Dan Patrick this morning, he's saying, people are texting him wondering if he heard anything. And it's, when the PGA players are texting anybody in the if they heard anything, and when, it's usually the other way around, that tells you how haphazardly this was handled. And I just think, Monahan's got a lot of egg on his face on this one. I'm not surprised that they, I'm calling it a merger. They're calling it, maybe a dissolving of it. It's a merger. Let's call it like it is. And I just was surprised at the timing of it. And yeah, there's a lot of hurt feelings, especially when these guys could have took those 9-figure payouts and went to the LIV Tour and had generation upon generational wealth. It's not a good look.
And there's still a lot to be figured out, a lot to be announced. Like there's not a whole lot of information at this point of exactly what's going to happen. Will the LIV Tour still even exist? Will it dissolve? Which most people think it's going to go away completely, right. Or move at least to a different time when the PGA is not on in season. Things like that going on. How is the PGA going to pay or reward loyalty to guys like Rory and the others that stuck around?
Well, I'll tell you, I, in my honest opinion, I'll be surprised if they do anything for him. If they do, it's not going to be nearly what, the LIV Tour guys got. I don't see the PGA Tour forking out upwards of $1 billion in upfront money. Let's face it, guys like Phil Mickelson and, Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka, those folks were getting 9 figures. There's no way the PGA is going to do that. I mean, there was a reason why they did this with the Saudi group, because they didn't have the funds to back up some of these purses. You talk about when the announcement was Tuesday morning, 8 or 7:30 in the morning. I was reading something about how Rory was upset and disappointed that the PGA, their purses for the 4 majors weren't the same as what the LIV Tour was giving out each tournament. They were giving out $25 million for purses, and the U.S. Open's giving out I think 20, and the Masters 18, or the other way around. So, and he said, don't be surprised if some of the guys start skipping some of these majors. So that tells me that the PGA needed the money. It's all about money. And I wish I could remember the author who wrote a book about the LIV. It's called Live and Let Die with the LIV Tour. And he mentioned that the European Tour was hemorrhaging money. They were on the verge of going under until they started going over to play in Saudi Arabia and some of these other Asian places that were giving them the money. So to answer your question, I don't see them getting a lot. They were already getting a $12 million stipend, if you will, to play in a certain amount of tournaments, which Rory forfeited $3 million of it because all of this, before this announcement, you could tell in his game, he's mentally exhausted. It's really taken its toll on him.
Alan Shipnuck,
Yes.
the author of
Yes.
that book. I Googled it, so I didn't know that, but I Googled it. Yeah, it's crazy. And I just sit here and I go, it seems like the Live won. No matter what
Yes.
happens here, if they dissolve, if
Yeah.
whatever happens, it doesn't matter at this point. They won. And there's going to be changes to the PGA. I'm not sure how far they'll go, though, right? I mean, the topics, Dan Patrick hit on this a lot. The topics have been shorts, music, money, or been the big things, right? Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the shorts thing changes. The other stuff I'd be a little shocked on. But I think there's going to be changes, and you're going to see more changes that are going to look like the Live than you're going to see changes that look like the PGA.
Oh, 100%. I don't think you'll see the shotgun starts like the Live Tour does. I just, there's going to be too many traditionalists that will shy away from that. I personally wouldn't mind it. And I honestly don't think they're going to go to 54 holes. I think they'll stay with 72 because there's too much money to be made at these events with, concessions and tickets and whatnot. They're going to try to maximize that. And but the shorts I could see, I think you will go back to, the shorter season maybe for the PGA. I think right now, in my opinion, it's way too long. I mean, it's, like a wraparound, 10.5 month season, 11 months, whatever it is, and my question too is, they had Mark Rolfing on yesterday talking about, he runs the first event that they're scheduled to have in 2024 out in Hawaii. What is this going to do to the corporate sponsors that, how much more are they going to expect out of them to come up with sponsorship money for, the payouts and whatnot? Some of these, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. A company like Rocket Mortgage, who's doing the sponsors the golf tournament here in Detroit in a couple of weeks. I don't know how big they are and what kind of budget they have, but I believe that's going to have an effect on something like that too.
And you're hearing,
I don't know.
Phil Mickelson has said good things about it. Bryce DeChambeau has said this is a best thing for golf. And then you got Rory saying, I hate Live. It's definitely showing you that I think there may have been better communication on the Live side as well, far better than the PGA side as well. Dad, you have any golf questions here about this whole situation?
No, I mean, I think as more information comes out and exactly how they do it, I guess the idea is will there still be separate tournaments? Will they all be joined in together? How that works out. I think Vince and I talked about this when it first started, and I think the deal was the PGA didn't act quick enough right off the bat. It was kind of like, well, no, it's not going to work. This is just something new. And, this is what they just kept saying, this is what real golf is. This isn't real golf over there. But as more and more people left and it became more and more entertaining and these guys had more and more success, rather than trying to make adjustments and do stuff earlier to maybe avoid this, like I said, it's a real bad look for them now with their players not knowing, this was happening and exactly what's going on.
Oh, I agree. And it's funny is I'm interested to see if I don't know if they're going to ever play two separate tournaments. I think, the PGA players, I think you'll see like what they do over in Europe where a Phil Mickelson or a Brooks Koepka or whoever, John Rahm can go to a tournament like the John Deere Open and say, if you want me to play, you're going to have to pony up, $1 million, an appearance fee. I think you're going to see that. And that's a rule I think that they're going to have to do. I honestly would like to see kind of the team concept that they're doing it with the Live Tour. You get 3 or 4 guys together, play for, an extra, whatever, couple of million, 3 million, the players that aren't on the front page, they got something to play for, and I could see something like that. And you talked about the Live Tour players coming back. It's what I'm going to see is if they do go mainstream and they're all playing together. You got a guy like Bryson DeChambeau who was paid $100 and some million. He's walking next to a guy who maybe wasn't offered that kind of money or didn't take it. You're going to see a little bit of resentment, but I also look back on it as a business, and I look back on when the AFL and the NFL merged, when the NBA and the ABA merged, and even a little bit with the NHL and the WHA. There was a little bit of discontent at first, but boy, they got along, and those leagues are thriving now. And I think in a couple of years, everything's going to be all right. It's just the way it went about yesterday was bad.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you're going to see one or two team events. I don't think it'll be a lot. I think you'll see some added to the PGA. The other thing is, I think the best thing that this is for golf is the casual golf fan. Even if they didn't watch one Live Tour event, they're going to tune in to watch the rivalry, so to say, between the Live guys and the PGA guys. And, man, years ago when Tiger and Phil were such just a heated rivalry, that kind of stuff's good for the game. It's good in any sport if you have a rivalry. And I think it's going to be great for golf. They're going to draw in some fans, some viewers throughout the year, some additional viewers, just to see what it looks like with having Phil Mickelson and Rory golfing together. It'll be a fun adventure for all the casual golf fans. That's me. All the real golf fans, though, are already tuning in and liking it. But I think it'll add some excitement. So,
I do too. And they're going to benefit from that. They're going to get the ratings from it, and the merchandise. People are going to want to go to these tournaments. I mean, not that they don't want to, but I agree. I think ultimately it's going to be good for the game. And again, my big question now is Monahan is he gonna stay on board? Is he still gonna be the commissioner or the CFO or whatever? They're talking about maybe being a new CEO when this all shakes down and gets completed, because to a man, they said after that players meeting yesterday, 90 to 95% of the PGA players were so upset. Some of them came out and called him a hypocrite to his face in that meeting. He's lost the trust of the PGA players, and that he's got a long road ahead of him. And I will give him credit for going up in front of those guys yesterday in that meeting, and falling on the sword and taking the heat, answering the questions. He could have bailed on that, and he's eating some humble pie right now, and hopefully that will start a little bit of fence mending, if you will.
I don't know how it breaks down with Monahan, like who's his boss and things like that. I know that if he was like a commissioner where he worked for the owners, they'd have his back, they'd support him. So I'm not sure if he has that support, because the golfers obviously don't like him right now, but maybe he has enough support where he knows, hey, I'm not losing my job because I got the support of the people who it matters.
Well, Vince, too, is they've got a 5-member council, a PGA council, a board, if you will. And I believe that Rory McIlroy was on that, or he is on it. And, so that kind of makes me wonder if they didn't go through them to talk about it. I mean, that is even worse, in my opinion. But again, Rory, he was upset in his press conference. He like you said, he hates Liv. He's he's made out to be the sacrificial lamb, but then he also pointed out that in the long run, this is going to be good for the game. With that Saudi funding, they're going to be making so much more money, and their pockets are going to be much deeper. And, the bottom line is this is a job for those guys. They're there to take care of their family and their family's family. And, and once they realize and they come to grips with this, they're going to see that they're going to make a ton of money. Do I agree with everything they stand for? No, but unfortunately, it's here to stay in all walks of this professional sports now. You talk about soccer, you talk about the Formula One, and as I said on my show this morning, don't be surprised if the Saudi group starts looking at some of the professional franchises in the major sports here in the USA. And a couple of them that are hurting financially, and they throw $10-12 billion at them. And, I think we're going to have to get used to it.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. He is Lou Gamelin and hosts the Captain Lou Extravaganza on the Belly Up Sports Network. Lou, tell everybody about your show, kind of what you're covering, and the best places to find it.
Well, we are on our YouTube channel, which is the Captain Lou Sports Network. We invite you to subscribe to that. Right now, we're on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays live at 10 o'clock in the morning. We're on for about 45 minutes talking about everything going on in the world of sports right now. Obviously, the Live PGA merger, and, we're knee-deep in the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals. And then we're going to be doing that probably through the end of July. Then once August hits, I'll be going back to my regular time when I go back to my regular job. Will be Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock and Tuesday nights as well. And get football season back in all the Michigan sports, and of course the NFC North, the Big Ten, you name it. And we'll heat up that Packer-Lions rivalry coming up this year.
Sounds great. We'll bring you back on in football season. We'll have some fun with that along the way. Lou, man, I really appreciate you taking some time for us tonight. Make sure you go check out his show, the Captain Lou Extravaganza, on his YouTube page. And again, you can find him also. If you can't remember what it was, go to bellyupsports.com and you'll find some information about it there as well. Lou, thanks again, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, and enjoy your first place Milwaukee Brewers. Thanks for having me on.
All right, there you go. Thanks again to Lou, talking some golf with us again. We don't talk a whole lot of golf on the show, but it seemed like tonight was a good night to talk some golf. So we went ahead and did just that. All right, Dad, let's move on to Major League Baseball. And, oh, my goodness, Jacob DeGrom. I mean, going into the season, we said Texas acquiring DeGrom was a good move if he can stay healthy. He goes down. Not only does he go down, now he's getting Tommy John surgery, and he's done for the rest of the year. How disappointing. Who do you feel worse for? Jacob DeGrom, the Texas Rangers, or Major League Baseball fans?
Well, for me, it'd be Jacob DeGrom. I mean, I think, again, it's tough for him to be the kind of player that he is, and not be able to get healthy, and will he be able to recover from this? I don't know. It'd be a long road, and don't know that he'll be back to what he was. Like I said, obviously the Rangers making a move like they did, and like you said, baseball fans, DeGrom was a great guy to watch and a great guy to follow. So it affects everybody a little bit, and it'd be interesting to see, if the Rangers, rally because of this, or, if this becomes a real blow.
I want to talk a little bit about the hottest teams in baseball right now. We'll start with Tampa. They're still at 19 losses, still haven't crossed that 20-loss point yet. They're on a 4-game win streak. They're scoring runs, left and right, and they're holding on tight to that first spot, 5.5 up on Baltimore. Are the Tampa Bay Rays ever going to slow down?
It doesn't look like it. It looks like they're solid. Again, will someone go from the opening gun to the end? I don't know. It doesn't always happen, at least without somebody, because there are some other good teams in that division, so it could get tight. But it sure doesn't look like Tampa Bay will fall out of it by any stretch of the imagination.
Second best record in the league right now is the Texas Rangers, and they've been doing it without Jacob DeGrom. So, it's a blow to him that he's done for the season, but he's been out for a while now, and the Rangers are still 40-20 with the highest run differential in the league at plus 155. They're on a 5-game win streak, 8 out of the last 10. This Rangers team, and again, Dad, they are scoring runs like absolute crazy. We've talked about Houston possibly catching them, but I'm starting to believe in these Texas Rangers. What about you?
Yes, like I said, they're staying solid and staying right there. Again, Houston's got a good team, so I think it'll be a good race. But Texas is playing well and plays well in a lot of positions. So I think, I'm starting to get to where, like you said, I'll be a little bit of a believer, and maybe Texas will be the team everybody will be chasing here all year in that division.
Yeah, maybe so. Another team that just won't go away is the Miami Marlins. 6-game win streak right now. They're 2.5 back from Atlanta, 8-2 in the last 10 days. 35-28 is their record. They're not scoring a lot of runs, but they're doing enough to win games. And I'm really surprised Miami's still sitting here where they are this year. How long does this last, or do you think it will last the rest of the way?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of surprises in baseball, but this definitely one of them there. I wouldn't think it will hold on, but again, you got the Braves, but don't know. The Mets were way down there, then all of a sudden they've gotten better. Philadelphia has not made the turn yet, that we thought they would. So Miami's in a good position right now in their in their division.
Yeah, the whole division is on a streak right now. Atlanta 3 wins, Miami 6 wins, the Mets 4 losses, Philadelphia 4 wins, and the Nationals 3 losses. It's an intriguing division. It's going to be fun to see how it all shakes down. And then, Dad, the Arizona Diamondbacks. We talked about them recently as well. They're back in first place in the West. They've won 7 out of their last 10. They're sitting there at 36-25, just a game above Los Angeles. But, Dad, this is a team that has a lot of young talent, and their pitching has done just enough to make things happen. But it's been the runs being scored that have been the difference for Arizona. Is Arizona a legit playoff team this year?
I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot of young players. And like you said, the division they have, of course, you got the Dodgers there. I don't know. It's been impressive so far. I wouldn't think maybe that Arizona, would stay there. They may very well be a playoff team. And if they were, that would be, I think a great improvement for sure.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco's right at 500. The Padres are several games under 500. Yeah, I mean, it's still a long ways to go in this season, so things can change. But right now, it looks like Arizona is one of the best teams in the National League. As a matter of fact, they are a half a game behind the Atlanta Braves for the best record in the the division. Or the conference, the National League. So intriguing teams for sure. Interesting to see how it's going. The entire NL Central has a negative run differential right now. 4 out of the 5 NL East teams have a negative run differential right now. 4 out of the 5 AL Central teams have a negative run differential right now. So there's a lot of bad baseball and some good baseball along the way. Of course, the AL East still everyone over 500 currently in that conference, in the American League as well. And then Cincinnati Reds, Dad, there's some hope still there. They're 28-33. 5 games back in the division, but they bring up the newest sensation who comes out and De La Cruz hits a home run in his second game as a Major League Baseball player, but the team's still tied 6-6 in the bottom of the 5th. So, but again, you're in the area. Is there any inkling of hope? Well, I asked you this before, and you said no, but it seems like the Reds won't go away either.
I think the Reds are definitely creating more excitement. They have a lot of several young players that are doing well. And now with De La Cruz coming up, but like you said, there's some problems there with the pitching and different things. I don't know that they're going to be able to challenge for the division or a playoff, but I think they're turning in the right direction. I would think, fans, this will help get fans back, especially you got a rookie almost hitting one out of the park. So we'll see.
Let's talk about the NFL a little bit as well. More gambling issues. Colts have a player who's now being investigated for gambling. That's not good. Hopefully that storyline will slow down and go away. 2 new stadiums being talked about. Jacksonville came out with pictures of their vision for their new stadium, and it is insanely cool. Did you see the pictures for the Jaguars' possible new stadium?
I did. I looked that up. Boy, that really looks like quite the facility. Everybody that's building a new stadium, for the most part, they're really, really quite something to look at. We'll see, of course. Buffalo's a little bit different because it's not a dome, but it'll be a great, improvement, I think, of where they're at there. And we'll see, what Tennessee and Chicago end up with. So, but yeah, the Jacksonville thing really looks like something. And of course, they're using it to revitalize, Jacksonville and the whole area. And so, yeah, that was very impressive. And of course, NFL's teams are having to have new stadiums. It seems like, I think these were the four that have been talked about lately. And that may kind of be everybody right now. I was trying to go through all the stadiums, and there are some that are older, but I don't know of any that are, antiquated. And most of the ones have, had luxury boxes and the things they need financially. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's about getting a Super Bowl to some degree. If you're building a stadium, you're building it to get a Super Bowl as well. And I think Jacksonville looks like a Super Bowl stadium with those pictures come to life. And you're right, Buffalo, and that's kind of been the talk too. Buffalo's talking about a new stadium, would not make it a dome, which I think is the best thing to do. I think it's good to have some cold weather stadiums, Green Bay being one of those, Pittsburgh being one of those, Chicago, but they're talking about doming up their stadium. So, which isn't surprising, just knowing Chicago and the sissies that they are. But Buffalo is building a new one, and it will not be a dome. So they'll continue to be what football should be for the fans, and to keep some manliness in the game as well. DeAndre Hopkins set to visit the Tennessee Titans. Doesn't seem like that would be the best fit for him, just looking at the quarterback situation there. But he's got to go visit somebody, I guess. Where do you think the best fit for DeAndre Hopkins is?
Well, obviously, I think it would be, with a good quarterback. Now, exactly, who's in the market for that and who can work that, I'm not sure. But, yeah, when Tennessee, like I said, that doesn't seem like the ideal fit because, the quarterback situation is a little iffier in the future as far as that is concerned. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who wants to get him, who can pay the price for that. He's obviously has potential to still be an outstanding wide receiver, but I don't know.
Yeah, I like Baltimore and Buffalo as fits for him. Just to add, they're teams that are good, but really don't have a second wide receiver that's worth, in my opinion, a number one spot. Of course, Hopkins does have injury issues, so we'll see if that matters and if they can agree to a contract with the money-wise that makes sense for everybody. He's asking for, an Odell Beckham type deal. I'm not sure that he'll get that right now either. So we'll see how it shakes down there. And I think Atlanta is always an interesting team to watch. They've gone all in on offense. Why not add another great weapon there as well? All right. Any other topics you want to talk about? NBA playoffs still going on. NBA finals, they're playing right now. NHL comes up tomorrow evening, I believe. But anything else you want to talk about?
No, we'll see. I think the finals both, may not go, long in hockey or basketball, but we'll see with Miami winning that one. Again, Vegas looked very, very dominant in their games there, but they were, but Florida, is back home now, so we'll see. But no, a lot going on in sports, and like I said, baseball, very, very interesting there, and football, a couple more weeks here, and then they'll take a break till training camp, and we'll see, if anybody else is signing anybody before then.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I may have been wrong on the NBA Finals, Dad. I thought it would be a 5-game series. I'm not sure anymore if that's the case. With Miami getting one in Denver, it might go a little longer than I anticipated. All right, well, we're going to call it a day then for the Sports Stove podcast. Remember to go visit righteousfelon.com. Use promo code BELLYUP at checkout for 15% off your purchase. Follow on social media at Sports Stove on Twitter and Instagram. If you enjoyed the episode tonight, do us a favor. Give us a 5-star rating. Share it with somebody you love. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Sports Stove podcast. Until next time, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.